Stephen, we're already seeing Republicans use this as campaign material, of course, saying, look how extreme the Democratic Party is. I mean, what do you think?
Well, there is something extreme about candidates who say that they use the American flag to wipe their hands, and also that they are ultimately interested in the total eradication of Western civilization, as Chevalier put it herself. These are indeed radical candidates. They are Marxists, and they will tell you that. You know, I think Republicans have made a mistake for decades of calling any mainstream Democrat a communist or a Marxist. There are, in fact, Marxists out there, and they're right here. It's the Democratic Socialists of America. This is what they believe, and they are trying to cannibalize the Democratic Party, and they are going to succeed. This is going to spill outside of New York into more moderate states around the country. And the ultimate goal here is to establish a beachhead within Congress where they can project power across the entire country and convince mainstream Democrats and normies who see this happening online that this is the future of the Democratic Party.
Wait, Stephen, can I just put something
to you? And I hate to
break
it to Doug. I'm sorry. Yeah. I hate to break it to Doug, but moderate Democrats like him who work as a Democratic strategist are on the menu. You either have to get on board with this stuff, or you are the target of these radicals when they take power.
Doug, what's your response to that?
Well, I'd have to correct Stephen. I don't know if I'd call myself a moderate or a normie, but I am a Democratic strategist. And what I can say is that the Democrats and frankly, the American people have moved on from a lot of these attacks. Look, you have President Trump in office who has said absolutely horrendous things. You have Stephen Miller who said at Charlie Kirk's wake that he was going to, conduct a whirlwind campaign against all out of favor Americans. The sort of coarseness that's overtaken here is become part of the daily political conversation. What I would say is these attacks like, oh, they're Marxists or, oh, they're communists just don't land anymore. What people want is change. They want a party that can deliver real significant change, especially on economics, corporate power, and Israel. And I think Democrats need to get wise to that because, whether or not the Republicans call them names, at the end of the day, they need to please their voters and their base, and they need to win elections. And I think that opening up a more sort of FDR-style Democratic Party, refinding their ability to have bold ideas and push really significant change in the economy is something that's going to reap huge rewards.
I noticed that Hassan Piker isn't doing these victory rallies and talking about his love of FDR. He tends to actually cite Lenin and Mao. So I hope you're ready for that. When we see these victory parties for these three candidates in New York, the influencer class driving the energy behind these elections is not cheering on taking on Stephen Miller and Donald Trump. They're cheering on the ouster of Hakeem Jeffries and Richie Torres for not endorsing Hamas. So you got to get real about this. This is not an FDR movement.
Stephen and Doug, I think there's a lot more to talk about. Unfortunately, we've run